everyone, and welcome back to Yanks Footy. And the main focus of our episode will be over the Olympic roster, which dropped yesterday. Forewarning to everybody on the rules of this roster, you needed to at least have two goalkeepers, four alternate players, and a max of three overage players. Is said that you don't need them, but most teams do bring them, and that's exactly what we did. So we brought three overage players. So how it works is you need to have at least 18 players that are playable. Three of those, if you so choose, are overage players. So really, it's 15 underage players with four alternates, and they can only play if there's like an injury or a player had to leave the tournament due to a mercy or whatever. So let me pull up the roster. And for those who are listening, the players that we have for goalkeepers: Patrick Schulte, Gaga Solana; defenders: Max Dietz, Nathan Harrell, Miles Robinson, John Tolkien, Caleb Wiley, Walker Zimmerman. In the midfield is Gianluca Buzio, Benja Kermashi, Jordi Mihailovic, Jack McGlynn, Tanner Tessman. And the forwards are Paxton Anderson, Taylor Booth, Ducky McGuire, Kevin Paredes, and Griffin Yao. The alternates are Josh Atencio, Jack Davis, Johan Gomez, and John Postcamp. So, what are your first things that you notice?
And my first thing that I noticed when I saw it originally was that Gaga made the roster because I'd seen a few reports. I know that was going around that he wasn't going to get released for the roster. So I was glad to see him, and I was going to be very interesting to see now whether Schulte or Gaga will get the start.
Yeah, it was the same for me. I mean, we saw the same exact stuff. So this does make it quite interesting on who would be the starters or if they're just going to do rotation base. It's also kind of surprising that Gaga is on here because he's going to have to go on loan. He's obviously not going to play for Chelsea this coming season. So you would have thought that they would have tried to loan him out as quickly as possible so he can go on preseason. And that seems not to be the case. The same thing with Caleb
Yeah,
Wiley,
but
who just made his move to Chelsea.
Yeah, I guess both with Gaga and Wiley. I'm guessing Gaga's probably going to end up at Strasbourg too. Mm-hmm. So I guess with that being in the same ownership group, they may not be as important, or they may not view it as important to get them preseason time because they're going to probably be getting minutes anyway. I don't know. Maybe that's the logic behind it. I don't necessarily care what the logic is behind it. I'm just glad they both got on the roster. So.
Yeah, and I mean, anyone who's really followed the team knows that this is like an average roster. And those who don't heavily follow it enough, but they know this roster's average, you had to take into account there was a lot of players that got rejected. Cole Bassett was blocked. Who else got? Jogo didn't get invited because he's focused on Real Sociedad. So there's a lot of circumstances. I mean, like Malik Tillman, he just got rejected by PSV. So we don't know the full story on who got blocked and who didn't get invited. So based on a little we know, that's probably the best that we could have gotten.
Yeah, I'm going to, with like midfielders, because Tessman's going to be probably, I mean, I guess Busio can probably play that like sixth role, but that's not
he's done it for
necessarily where I see him as. Yeah. I don't see that necessarily as his most natural spot, but I guess he can fill that. I'd be interested to figure out, like, with that DM role, like, whether Like Morris, he just got that move, so I'm guessing he was blocked because he's been on every other
Mhm.
roster. So I don't think that would change that quickly. I'm guessing that was one that was blocked. It's interesting to me because I'd assume, depending on what the formation is, that Tessman, McGlynn, and Busio all probably start, maybe Mihalovic. So that DM position's interesting to me. How that's going to be handled.
Yeah, I know a lot of Philly fans are saying that McGlynn may play as a backup six, which we have seen him do that at times at Philly, but he is primarily an eight. Again, though, he can play as a deep line playmaker. So I can easily see him. The Philly fans might be right on that one. Uh, one of the first things I don't like about it is where they put Paxton. And then this tells me they're going to play him either at the left or on the right wing.
Yeah,
When everybody who has any type of ball knowledge and has watched him, he is a 10. I mean, he proved that at Vitesse. He is a 10. And it is quite annoying to me that the Federation continues to think that he is a left wing player.
yeah. I don't know if that's just because they have a couple guys they already think are going to play tens, and so they're putting him out on the wing instead. But it's a strange move to me too. It's not like you need a ton of wings. I don't think our winger or 10 depth is really that bad that you have to move him out of position to do that, to fill out the roster. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, but since October, a lot of these guys have been on the roster. So I'm not all that surprised with who they called up. The only ones I am surprised
No.
is three of the four alternates. Gomez is the only one that's not a surprise to me on the alternate players because he's been at every camp since October. Um, but to me, it's you don't realize it's an issue till you start thinking about who all got snubbed on this roster, and one of them being
Yeah.
Diego Luna. And I've heard the arguments for those who said he shouldn't be on the roster or whatever. But I mean, what other little
I
snubs do you think?
um I mean, just not having a real second striker. I mean, I don't have anyone necessarily particular in mind. I mean, I would have liked to see one of the overages be used on striker. Uh, but I mean, I guess you can consider that a snub. But um, I mean, that's my main thing. A lot of the other guys I wanted were guys who just didn't get released. So, I mean, obviously Luna is the big one for me. Just wish you would have handled our like forwards, specifically for striker, better. I don't. I think that's going to be a struggle for us because I don't think McGuire's gonna do all that well. I mean, I hope I'm wrong there, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what was kind of weird is
also,
good.
oh, I just also like the overage center backs. Like, I get that we're not that this age group for center backs is pretty not strong, but I feel like we could have got better center backs either overage for overage guys. I mean, I feel like it's kind of a small complaint because we're going to have overage center backs anyways. And I don't know for sure who would have got released or not, but like, I don't know, give Trusty or McKenzie a look, like see if that's something their clubs would be open to releasing them on. But I don't know, there's small complaints,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, and I saw this morning that someone reported that apparently Jalen Neal was going to come in, but the Galaxy blocked it. Um,
Mm.
which, to be honest, they didn't need to have him. As good as he is, and as good as he's been for them since he came back, they were still winning games when he wasn't playing. So they could have
Yeah,
easily let him go. But as you said, I don't understand why they didn't brought McKenzie and Trusty. I mean, why these two guys? I mean, we already know what they bring to the table. The only thing I can guess is the experience. But McKenzie and
I'm
Trusty, they
more.
bring European experience.
Yeah, like I can understand Robinson because I don't think Robinson's all that bad. I mean, he's not someone I still want to call up for the first team if everyone's available, but he's not someone I'm mad if he's called up. Zimmerman, I don't get it. There's no, I don't see any future with him for the national team, and I think we'd be better off just not bringing him for the Olympic team too. I mean, I'm still mad at him over the Wales games, so there's that. But I don't know. Robinson, I'm not too mad about. Zimmerman, I'm like, I don't get this.
Well, as we've heard that Don Garber had a lot of say in this roster, particularly the three overage players. And if that's the case, which I wouldn't be surprised if it was true at all, is I imagine he did have big part in it. And then uh, Marco has said that he has spoken to Greg Berhalter quite often on the roster, so it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if Greg Berhalter pushed to have Surman on that roster, including Miles. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever.
Yeah, Garber especially is if he did, which I would not be at all surprised if he did. If he did have some say in who got on this roster, or at least some legitimate pressure on it, that's frustrating because that's not his job to do. That's not, he doesn't belong making those kind of decisions as far as like player personnel. That's not, he's he's a businessman. He shouldn't have any say in players going. I mean, I could like Berhalter is at least you can justify him having some say because he is at least for now still the national team coach. So like there is reason arguably for him to have a say on this, but still I think it'd be better for him to just step back and let Marco take the guys he wants because it's ultimately Marco's team.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where I have the most issue with this whole roster. Really, when you start hearing these leaks, and I was going to say this for later, but since you brought it up, um, out of the 22 players, 17 were more MLS. And what was the first thing that MLS did? They posted on Twitter and Instagram, "Oh yeah, we have 17 players on the Olympic team." Don Garber jumped to the opportunity to do that. But again, why is the commissioner of MLS having some type of say in the matter? It's the same thing. Like, why is he even on the USSF board? He shouldn't be involved in either one of them at all.
Yeah,
But
that's
I get that most of our young Americans are in MLS, but still, I mean, they're obviously using this as a marketing tool.
yeah, that's like I don't care. I It's a U23 team, so there's no real issue for me with having MLS guys or MLS developed guys there. But if they're being
Mm-hmm.
promoted there because of reasons
Yeah.
other than like just that the coach wants them there and that they deserve to be there, it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I'd seen some rumors that Mihalovic was pushed by Garber to be there, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes to me like my issue. Like, yes, I want Luna called up, but my bigger issue is that Luna not being called up and Mihalovic being called up under pressure from Garber to be called up.
Mm-hmm.
That shows to me that's just a symptom of like a failure of the U.S. soccer system. Like
Yeah.
that's not
And he was trying to push for Jordan Morris too, apparently.
yeah, like it's not Luna himself not getting called up isn't a like thing where you need to be like up in arms over. I don't think. Like, yes, I do think he's definitely better than Mihailovic, but it's not like you're leaving off for comparison's sake. Like, it's not like you're leaving off Pulisic for Jordan Morris or something like that. Like, that's not what it. That's not. It's not that kind of skill gap, in my opinion. Like, there is a skill gap there, but it's not a huge one. It's more of the issue of stuff like this keeps happening, where guys who are even just marginally more talented, who have more of a future, are being pushed to the side for guys who we already know what they bring. We already know what they can do because they're a bigger name in a league, and somebody Garber wants them there. That's the bigger issue here to me.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows with rational thinking that Mihailovic does not have a future on the first team whatsoever.
Yeah.
And people can say the same thing about Luna, but he still has a chance. I mean, he's not even. I don't think he's 21 yet, or he's just turned 21. Um, but again, this goes back to the fact of why, if so, why is Greg Berhalter having some type of involvement in
Yeah, he's
this? I mean,
20.
he's
Luna's 20.
okay.
So,
So, I mean, he's still got plenty of time to develop, especially right now,
yeah.
with his performance. But I mean, again, what I was saying, is a senior coach. He's not the U23 coach. That's Marco's job. It's not like Greg is attending all these practice. I doubt he's attending any of the training sessions. So he doesn't know what they're doing. He just sees on what they're doing on TV. I mean, the one who probably knows these guys the best is Marco, not Greg Berhalter. But again,
Yeah.
there has been, even in the most recent interview by Marco, is that he's talking about how they're trying to create an American style and want these players to play the American style at a low level. And there's no doubt about that. This is probably Berhalter ball. They're trying to make Berhalter ball the American way
Yeah.
of soccer. But why is that? Especially when you look at his history, he fell in the second division of Sweden of all places. Even when he was coaching Columbus, he had a below 40% win rate.
Yeah.
Obviously, his doesn't work. So I don't understand why the Federation gives him this type of power.
Yeah.
If my
Like,
speculation is right.
I absolutely get wanting to have like a consistent style of play like throughout youth up to national team level, because I mean I've seen it work in clubs before. Like I've seen like with like I watch Columbus a ton, and their second team and their first team play very similar, and it's almost like a seamless integration between the two. So like I understand the merit of wanting to do that, but when you're trying when you want to start doing that, especially under a coach who's under a ton of pressure and it's not sure he may even be there by the time the Olympics are done, it's just kind of it's a bad idea. Like I wouldn't mind if he's like, hey, maybe take a look at insert name player that he thinks you should take a look at, but he shouldn't be having like much more say than like suggesting like, hey, I think this guy could be good for you. Take a look at him. Like outside of
Mm-hmm.
that, just step back.
Yeah. I mean, even having an advisory role, which I know they probably would say he was just advising him, but it wouldn't be surprising at all if he has some type of impact on it. But I digress on that. We need to probably talk a little bit more on the different
Yeah.
ones. I mean, so we covered the center backs. What about midfields? Like, what's your take on the midfield? I know you touched on it a little bit more, but is there more you want to say
I
on
mean,
that?
obviously, I'd like to see Luna over Mihailovic. I don't think we needed Mihailovic. I think that overage spot could have been used better somewhere else, or just not used at all. You're not required to have three. You can have up to three. So that's a mistake for me. Busio, McGlynn, and Tessman, I expected them to be there. I'm glad they're there. I think they're all three solid players. Kamashi, I mean, I don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's necessarily a bad player, but I don't think he's someone that has to be there. I think him playing at Miami with Messi probably gets him a little more attention than he deserves, but I'm not like overly mad at him being there. I expected him to be there. Um, I mean, again, I could have seen him replaced by Luna and been fine with that. Um, but overall, not too much is wrong in that midfield. I think. Um, I mean, and then there's guys that just like I'd be interested to see whether they were just turned down for a call up or just weren't, or just they didn't want at all. Like uh, Morris, I mentioned earlier, was one of them that I hadn't heard one way or another, so I'm still interested in that. I know Rokas wasn't released, so
Mhm.
that one
He's trying to make a
I
move
get.
too.
Yeah, that one I get too. So like, uh, but that's about it. I think it's a solid group. I think that's one position that it's kind of hard to mess up because there is a decent amount of depth
Hmm.
there.
Yeah. Throughout all the youth teams, our midfield is probably, in my opinion, our strongest. But just for a little context, before this past weekend, Luna's goal and assist was 9. Now, obviously, that has changed
Yeah,
quite a bit after getting 3 assists and 1 goal, but still, um, it was putting him close on pace to Mihailovic and even Cole Bassett. I think that is more than Cole Bassett. Uh,
yeah.
Kramashi,
Cole's got like
was
a
it 5 goals, 3 assists?
I thought it was like a goal and 6 assists. I don't remember for sure. I can look it up.
Yeah. Uh, but Kramashi, someone said that they're probably going to have him play more as an 8. I do know he's listed as an 8 at Miami, but obviously he could play as a 10 as well. Uh,
Yeah,
I do like Kramashi. I see a lot of potential in him. Whenever I watch him play, he is very technical. He does need to work on his athletic ability, but um, I would prefer him to have been with the U20 team because I think
yeah,
with his what he's been doing so far, even before Messi showed up, he was doing pretty well in Miami too. I
oh
think
jeez,
he should have been with the U20 to provide some of that experience to them because a lot of those U20 guys they're playing at the academy level or playing with MLS X Pro team,
yeah,
but uh, we definitely know that Kramashi is being used as a marketing tool by Don Garber because he posted it. He posted a picture with him with Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman. So yeah, they're definitely going to try and use him as a marketing tool. But I
yeah.
am
So
what
Cole,
even if Messi wasn't there, I would not be surprised he was on the roster.
yeah. So
So yeah, Cole
Cole
Bassett.
Bassett, his on transfer market they say he's got 7 goals, 5 assists in 23 games. So pretty good return. So yeah, I would have liked to see him
Yeah,
too. I think
he's definitely making a resurgence.
yeah, I think the report was like that he was the first guy left off. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I would have liked to see him too. So if like you have to make like 2 changes there, I've had Luna for Mihailovic and Bassett for Kramashi probably. But I'm not mad about Kramashi. I think Mihailovic being there was a stupid choice, but I don't think he's necessarily like a bad choice.
Yeah.
I just think it's just a choice that doesn't make sense and takes away more an overage spot that it could have been used in a better way. But uh,
Yeah. Yeah, and Bassett could play as an 8 as well. Luna
yeah,
is not so much good as an 8. Uh, but yeah, they did say that Colorado blocked it, but based on what he said, it being the first name off that list and the speculations that Garber had involvement in that, I would not be surprised if it was Garber's decision to keep Bassett off that roster, not Colorado. But
yeah,
yeah,
he-
uh, if you have anything else, we can. Is there something you want to comment?
Oh, I mean, with Luna, him, I, I don't know. Because I know he got offered a alternate role. I'm kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's kind of like he turned it down. That's kind of, I don't know. I have conflicting opinions on that because like I get why he did
Mm-hmm.
it, and like logically, yes, that makes sense for him. But at the same time, there is a significant chance because the roster is so small and it is a
Mm-hmm.
tournament that's plenty
And
so
someone is
plenty of
bound to
game.
get hurt too.
Yeah, so like he probably there's a significant chance he would have played, but like also I can't really be mad at him for wanting to just stay with his club where you like know you're going to play, but like also it's the Olympics. I mean personally I would have taken that, but obviously it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, and you also got to look at the image that it portrays because I know Football America has hurt kind of criticizing for it uh, on the lines of like that it made him look immature or something like that. I can't remember the
Yeah.
exact wordings, but he did criticize him for it. Um, but yeah, anyways, let's go to the fullbacks. Um, so we heard what happened with Brian Reynolds. Westerlo rejected his call up, which is kind of surprising, especially when they were allowing him to be called up all the way back to October. I mean, he's been every camp, I believe, since October. But I'm not surprised that Harrell was the second choice because same deal. He's been with them since October as well.
Yeah. That's not a ton of issue there. I mean, obviously, unfortunate you can't get Reynolds, but Harrell's been with them for a while now, so it's. I mean, there's not anything you can really do when you just get a player
Mm-hmm.
that's not that their club's not going to release him. Although I think it's a strange decision since he's been with
Mm-hmm.
the team the whole
Yeah, he's
time.
going on 3 seasons too. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not. I mean, like it's not like he's trying to get a move or something, or like he just got there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I don't know. He's an established player. I feel like you should let him go to the Olympics. But
Unless they're worried that he will get injured, that's
yeah,
the only thing that can make logical sense.
yeah,
But I mean, what they could have done though, because I know people have negative opinions about Harrell, and yeah, he's still developing. He's still young. He's not honestly. I don't think he was doing too bad um, with the team in the friendlies. But
yeah,
anyways, if you didn't want to bring him in, what you could have done to save an overage spot on Mihailovic or even on Zimmerman, you could give it to Deion Jones. Now, I know he plays left back, but he's right footed. He has returned from injury, correct? I thought I saw something where he got hurt a while back ago, but I can't remember. I don't keep
I
it with.
don't remember off the top of my. I don't pay as much attention to him.
Yeah, especially his age. The only ones from
Yeah,
Revs I pay attention to is Buck Ismir and
yeah.
uh was his I can't even think how to pronounce his last name. It's the kid that's eligible for
Oh,
Cyprus.
uh,
That was on loan to
oh,
Rhode Island.
yeah. I know who you're talking. Yeah, he's made 16 appearances this year for New England.
Yeah,
So I think some.
yeah, which is big. But
Yeah,
those are the
because
only
I
things I
think.
pay attention to at Revs.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
anyways, if he was available, I think they should have Brian Jones and make him a right back player because he's right footed.
yeah,
He could do it. Um, we kind of mentioned already on Jogo. I would prefer him over Wiley because we know that they're going to use left backs and right backs,
yep,
and Wiley is more of a wing back in my opinion, if not a left wing player. Um, Jogo has definitely got a lot better since moving to Spain at the left back position because before then, when he was at Louisville, he was more of a wing back. But
yeah,
I definitely would have picked him. But I understand the situation on why they chose not to, and I understand why if he got the call, why he would have rejected it, because he's going in his final contract with Real Sociedad. He's trying to get that extension.
Yeah.
But I don't blame him on that one, or
Yeah.
anyone.
I get why
Um,
he's not there. I mean,
mhm.
I'm not too worried about Wiley. I think he can do the job well enough. I mean, so
Yeah.
I'm not too upset about that. Not too worried about it.
Yeah, and I mentioned Tolkien is going to be the starting left back.
Yeah.
I, I think it depends on the situation that we're in, or if we make any tactical changes in the middle of the game, well, it would be a good option. I would be a little nervous if they had him play as a left back and not a left wing back, and we're trying to hold on to a lead. Uh, that's when I'd be a little nervous, because he is much better offensively. His defensive awareness still has working needs to be worked on, and with this current news story on him about going to Strasbourg, hopefully that he can work on that and in France. But, any other noticeable things you want to mention about the fullbacks?
No, I didn't have too much issue with the fullbacks, so I think we've covered that pretty well.
Okay, so the last one is the strikers. Uh, John Gomez, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not too surprised he's on the roster. Like a lot of these other guys, he's been with them since October. McGuire, he started off well in the MLS this season, and not so much now. But even then, he wasn't doing very well with the team. I'm not entirely surprised that he made this roster, because MLS wants to send him to the English Championship. That's kind of obvious in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think they're wanting to use this to try and help with the marketing and ensure that he makes that move. Because if the numbers are anywhere close to what was last time when he almost got that move to Blackburn, they want that money.
Yeah. I completely expected him to be there. I'm not at all surprised he is. Um, I I don't like that he's most likely going to be the starter, because I mean Johann's a
Mm-hmm.
alternate, so unless you want to do like a false nine, you kind of have to start him. I mean
Mm-hmm.
he's got 7 goals this year with Orlando, which is not terrible. It's also not spectacular, but
Yeah, doesn't he have like 2 or 3 assists though?
one. 7 goals, one
One assist.
assist in 19 appearances, which not
It's definitely
spectacular.
not compared to what less was. Yeah, I wonder
Yeah,
if he's
it's
kind
not.
of, as some people like to say, a player doing it intentionally to help with decreasing their value to go somewhere else. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean
I mean,
maybe, but I don't know. He does not inspire much confidence for me, both from just when I've watched. I mean, he looks better in MLS, but uh, but even then, his goal return's not that good. At least not this year. It's not, and his play with the Olympic team, I've watched him, is just not not very good. It's been a
mhm.
little rough to say. I'd say, like, and that's what really frustrates me with using an overage on Mihailovic, Robinson, and Zimmerman. Not as much, because that is a position of need. I just think those there could have been upgrades there, but like Mihailovic is just, we don't need an overage attacking an overage midfielder, 8 or 10, whatever they're going to use him as. We don't need it.
Mhm.
It's just not necessary. And then when you're now going into camp with one striker can play, and one that maybe can play because alternate. That's just problematic. Like, I
I mean,
why do you, why do you not use an overage there, or just why do you not just call up a second striker? Like, it's like I know Cade Cowell. I mean, he's not great either, but I mean, at
mhm.
least then you have a second striker, and you're not completely reliant on Maguire to not suck, pretty much, to like have a good
Yeah,
tournament. You have an option. Like if he is sucking, not having a good tournament, you have someone else to turn to. But now you're just, unless you want to play one of the other forwards as a striker, you're kind of just stuck, and that's my big issue with it.
yeah. I mean, Kid Cal, his invitation was declined by Chivas. They were going to use an overage on Brendan Vasquez, since you were talking about using one at the striker position, but Monterrey rejected it as well. I mean, the Liga Mexi just started, so it's no surprise. But
Yeah,
I know some people have said we should use it on P Folk, but I think we kind of know now if Greg Berhalter was consulted, he probably told Marco not to call him up, and I
yeah.
think he would have been
I
a
would
much
have.
better option.
I would have very much liked to see FIFA get an Olympic look. He's he's a pretty proven striker compared
Mm-hmm.
to Maguire, and he's not, obviously he's not the best striker we have, but he is. I think he is a good striker, and I would have loved to see him get that call up. I mean, I didn't expect to get like Pepe. I didn't expect him like, or even Sargent or Haji, even though I'd liked to see them, but I don't expect any of them to get released. But just only having one is, and it being someone that I'm not very confident in, just concerns me a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there was Damian Downs. I know he was in that last camp, and supposedly he didn't impress Marco. Uh, but still, even then, Damian Downs went like Marco when I have required using overage spot, but he's a promising kid, and it also would give an opportunity. No, actually, no. I don't think this would have capped him because it's not a sanctioned tournament. I don't think
No, I
about it,
don't.
but
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
even then,
Olympics.
he yeah, but even then, still, it would have been good to have him, no matter how you look at it, because of the fact that even the limited time that he played last season at Cologne, he did have 2 goals, and at this point, with them getting relegated down to the second division, it looks like he could potentially be seeing a lot more minutes. He's going to be with them in preseason, but we do know that he never received a call. I got the impression based on the article, Cole would have released him. That's just the way how I read it. Um, but I do find it surprising that he didn't impress Marco, but somehow Duncan
Yeah,
McGuire did.
especially that last camp, nobody really played well in that game. So like, I don't
No.
get. So I guess if you're only judging him off of like that camp, then sure, he wouldn't have impressed. But like, there's more. There's more to that, so I don't get why. But trying to get his stats
Yeah.
up to see how much he's played.
Again, especially with
Yeah,
the
so he had
potential that he has. I mean, what was what is it?
so he played in 10 games last season with for
Mm-hmm.
173 minutes. So like
and got 2 goals off of
under
it.
under two full 90s pretty much, and had 2 goals
Yeah,
off of that. And then
I think there was an assist,
no.
if I remember correctly. There wasn't? I thought there was.
No. Yeah, I mean, and his like his youth stats for them are very
Yeah,
very
yeah, it's outrageous.
good. Yeah. So like I don't
Yeah,
it doesn't
I
make
do think
sense to
there's
me.
promise. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, the only people who even talk about him, anyways, are those who watch the Bundesliga. I
Yeah.
don't see a lot of people even mention him that much over here. It's like they don't know that he exists or whatever. But I mean, if anyone who hasn't really paid attention to Damian Downs, I recommend you keep an eye on him for this coming season.
Yeah.
But he's definitely one
I
that we
think
need to
there's a
lock down eventually.
yeah. I mean, I'd say he's probably like, other than like the U20, other than like the younger guys that have actually like played
He
for
is a
the
top 5 striker, in my opinion, at the
for
U20 level.
yeah that's I was
Or
like, other
20.
than like, I was just looking at his page. I don't even remember how old he is. Yeah, he's 20. So
Yeah.
he's
Because for
got
me, it's him, Carroll,
yep
Neri, and Sobrano.
yeah
It's those 4 that I can think on the top of my head at the U20 level that are worth noting at the striker position.
yeah. I mean, there's not a ton of them from what I've seen and heard about, but
Mm-hmm.
him and K-Roll really interest me.
Yeah,
But
and we got to try and hold on to them. I know like the Federation is still high on Sobrano, but as things have looked like last year, it's not too good with him, and things are starting to kind of. I'm getting a little nervous about Neri right now too, but
yeah,
uh, this is also kind of a problem that I have with the Federation too, is that they like someone like Downs who's just relatively new. They're like, oh, we'll take a look at him, but we got this guy right here that we've been committed to for a while. I get
yeah,
loyalty, but if something new and better comes by, you need to grab it.
yeah. That's something that frustrates me, is like this unwillingness to experiment. Like, you have
Mm-hmm.
a player who seems like he's going to be a good player, but you'll give him one camp or one cap, and then if he doesn't blow them away like completely, they just kind of seem to just ignore him until he like forces the issue by continued good play, and
Mm-hmm.
that's frustrating.
Yeah, and we see that all the time at the youth level. CJ Olney is another example of it as well, where he got invited, didn't impress so much, and it took a long time, more time than it should, to impress him once again to get another invite.
Yeah,
And
and
then, and they live off the hype of players like Kate Cal. They keep on calling him up
yeah,
as much as possible at the youth level. And yes, he does well at the youth level. Was he done at the senior level?
yeah. Like, he's he's just. I mean, yeah, he's living off the hype at this point. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the. I don't think he's terrible, but he's not. He's not what he was made out to be by any means.
Mm-hmm. And I don't see him going to Europe anytime soon either.
No,
But I
well, yeah,
mean,
he's in.
that's a problem.
He'll bounce. He'll probably bounce between Liga MX and MLS. Probably. I don't think he goes to Europe. I mean, maybe. I hope he does. I'd like to see
Yeah,
what he can do there, but he'll probably end up bouncing between Liga MX and MLS. I just, I just don't.
almost like Kurt Gomez, which is not too much of a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. I just don't
But I
really
mean,
see it happening.
I just wish the federation would sometimes just admit when a youth player is just not living up to the expectations. Let them go and bring someone in who's actually doing something. It's the
Yeah,
same. Going back to the whole Diego Luna stuff again. Uh, he's doing something that a lot of our young U23 players aren't doing. Yeah, you can make the argument is MLS, or you can make the argument he's not going to be a world beater. It doesn't matter. I mean, he is better than Mihalovic in my opinion, or within a year he will be. It doesn't matter. But I mean, you bring
yeah,
in Paxton still because he has the potential, but he is another one I'm getting a little nervous about.
yeah. Like with Luna or even Downs, like any of those guys, it's not that I think they're going to be world class players. I mean, obviously, you kind of almost always have that like small off chance that a good player ends up going to that level. But I mean, they're both like 20 now, so I don't. It's you'd probably know by now, but they're still like the fact that they could develop into solid players who have a role to play with the national team, and just ignoring that is a failure of the federation, of the coaches, of everyone involved, to just ignore that. Because yeah, they're most likely they're not going to like kick kick the level up way high. Probably not going to happen. But even them turning out to be a good, decent guy that you can have come off the bench, something like that, that still pushes the level if they're better than the guy they replace. So you have it's just it's a complacency. It's basically a complacency because they're not willing to try something new that could slightly push the level up.
Yeah, it's still different than that Jimmy O guy that we see sometimes on Twitter saying that Joe goes 21 and he hasn't played in the top five league. He's never going to be a world beater or whatever. Like, why should we waste our time on him? And it's like, not every player is just going to magically be a superstar at the age of 19 or 20 years old. There are some players that are late bloomers.
Yeah,
And Tim Ream is one of them. Yeah, he was a super late
yeah,
bloomer.
yeah, and like I mean, even to an extent, Najee Wright is a bit of one. Like it can happen. Like writing off entirely players who are 20, 21, 22, 22, whatever, like in that group, entirely writing off that guys who've shown promise is just it's silly. It's bad policy. It's a way that you end up missing a player or losing a player who could turn out to be a good player to another federation if they're doing that, which with the US being the way it is, a lot of players are dual nationals.
Yeah, and we all say how a player reaches their prime when they're 25. So why are we rushing off to write guys off at even 20 years old? Like, give us some time. Let them see what
Yeah.
happens. I'll keep on bringing up Josh Weiner as an example just because uh, I talked to a source who's close to him, and then being a Louisville fan, I know what's going on. A good amount is he's only 19, and there's
Yeah.
already people saying, "Oh, well, things aren't going well, so we need to write him off already." Like, or even when he made the move to Benfica in the first place, someone says if he doesn't make it on the Benfica A team within a year, we gotta start worrying. It's like even Ruben Diaz made the move to Benfica at 18, and it took 3 years for him to make it into the Benfica A team, and now look at him. He's a top five center back in the world. Just give it
Yeah.
time. And again, like with him, he had been injured since October. He had surgery that took him out for the rest of the season, and because people don't properly track that stuff, they're like, "Oh, well, he failed or whatever." But if you talk to even the fans of those clubs, like for his example again, they rate him highly. The biggest fan account for Benfica rates him very highly. I think we need to pay attention more to what fans at the club level says. I think that's
Yeah,
another problem, good or bad. We probably need to take better consideration of that as a U.S. fan base.
yeah. Like and like with that, like people expect like with Widener for him to be with the A team at like whatever age. Like not development isn't always like some linear process. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna
Especially at
have
center back.
not every yeah, and like not everybody is going to be Pulisic playing for Dortmund at 16. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not that shouldn't be the expectation. We shouldn't be writing off players who are at especially like big clubs like Benfica, Dortmund,
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea, any of those. Like you shouldn't be writing players off because they're 18, 19, 20 and they're not in the first team yet. Like not that's not where we're at as we can't afford as a nation as a national team to write those kind of players off that are still at those type of clubs as long as they're still developing and working through the ranks, as long as they don't get stuck playing in a reserve and then like don't there's no reason to really be concerned or start writing them off unless there's like
Mm-hmm.
I mean stretches of injuries, things like that, or just a player like really seems to have stalled, like they're 23 still playing in reserves or getting loaned out a ton, then maybe this guy's not something that we thought he was, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's not all the same.
Yeah, and especially the club is showing support still for that player. Just like today, we saw that Cole Campbell um, got a new contract to
Yeah, he's
2028 with Dortmund,
yep.
and they
Yeah,
were
he's
talking about
got
having him play still with the U19,
yeah, he's got
but
what?
he's going to be doing preseason with the first team. But people
Yeah.
took it as a concern that he's still going to play with the U19. But
Yeah, he's got
so far,
he had like 16 goals
well,
or something with
no,
the U19s, I thought it said.
I think they said it was 19 altogether with the U19.
Yeah, I
Let me
thought yeah, it
see.
was something like that.
But to get it. So 18 goals and 19 assists in 52 matches with
Yeah, that's what I
Dortmund's
thought.
U19
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. So I mean he's doing well. He's doing very well. I mean youth there's pretty good
Yeah.
usually, so
Yeah. I mean, it'd be better if he was playing with the second team, but if he's doing preseason with the first team, I I will bet money on that he probably will make the bench at some point for Dortmund's first team. I
yeah.
imagine so. So
Yeah,
don't
I would
stress about the fact
guess.
that he's still going to be playing with the U19.
Yeah. Um
But yeah, I know that we're talking about these type of topics because we've seen what some people have been saying the past couple of days, have been
yeah.
wanting to write off players like a snap of the finger. So
Yeah.
those who are watching and wondering why we're bringing it up, that's why. Because
Yeah.
it's, in my opinion, it's kind of irritating that you want to write off players after just one bad season or whatever. Like the stuff with Gio saying that, well, we need to write him off because he was doing
Yeah.
bad with not Forest or wasn't getting the praying time. But I mean, okay, then explain why was it Century, the Brazilian kid, going complete blank on how his name goes. Never got to play with Nas Forest. Goes to France and kills it, playing
Oh
in the first
gosh.
division in France. So
The Chelsea
I,
player,
to
yeah.
Andre or Andre, something like that. Yeah,
Andre
Santo Entry or something like that.
yeah. I should know this because
I probably
uh,
sound stupid, not can't remember. But yeah, I mean, if he ran into the Santos ran into that issue,
yeah,
not
Andre Santos.
Forrest, should
Yep.
it? Should, does it really come to a surprise that Gio or anyone else runs into the same issue? It shouldn't. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be immediately saying just because he didn't crack it, not Forrest, we should write him off, or tell him that he should be playing a top 5 league. When Andre Santos had the same predicament, and he is highly
Yeah.
rated in Brazil. So just relax, give it some time,
Yeah.
be patient. But you have any closing arguments?
Uh, oh, post camp at the alternate goalie was, I don't know. That's a
Oh, post
weird.
camp, yeah, I completely
Yeah,
forgot about him. Yeah, so he
that was a
did
weird
attend a
pick.
camp, or yeah, it really was. Honestly, it shouldn't come shock to me, but it did because he. The reason why I say that is because he was in at least 1 or 2 camps, but I watched the one game he played in it, and it wasn't that. I don't know why they couldn't bring. Well, I'm trying to think who they could you brought with them. I mean, I don't know. There could have
Salentano. I
been a
mean,
better option.
Salentano's still 23, so he could have went.
So
I don't know
apparently,
since.
based on his birthday, he couldn't. He'd be an overage player. Someone said
Yeah. Let me see.
his is weird. I think he was off by like a month or something like that.
Of course, it doesn't tell me.
Um,
Yeah,
who
because it
else
says
they
he's
could have
23,
brought?
but
I think because this is so weird.
I mean, his birthday's not till September, so he's
I
still
can't remember on the top of
technically.
my head.
Um, I mean, there's.
He'd be eligible, but apparently he's not. I don't understand it.
I don't know.
I think it's because he turns 24 this year. I think that might be why.
Oh, yeah.
I had to pull up the rules again to see exactly what month and year.
I would
Um,
have been.
but yeah,
I'd have been
go
interested.
ahead.
I mean, everyone's. A lot of people are high on coaching. I hope I pronounced that right. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, as I'd be fine bringing. I'd have been fine bringing him as an alternate. I mean, it's a goalkeeper. He's probably not going to play, but just having him there probably been good. But also leaving him in Barcelona for their preseason stuff was also probably good. So I'm not like I don't. I mean, it's also an alternate, so I'm not really going to gripe a ton about alternate and the third goalkeeper.
hmm
But I don't know.
but
It
it
was
was
just
such a weird pick.
yeah, it was just a name I didn't expect to see. Like
Same thing with Jack Davis. I mean,
yeah,
I guess those who really follow MLS know who he is. I don't know a whole lot about him. I honestly
yeah. I
don't pay
don't.
attention to Kansas City since Buzio left. But on Diego though, I would much rather see him with the U20. I would expect that's the situation, but he's supposed to be
Yeah,
with Benfica's first team during preseason, so he probably wouldn't, and that still keeps us from being able to cap tie him.
yeah. Which I mean, but yeah. Other than that, I didn't really have anything. I was just thought that was an interesting pick.
Yeah. Um, Maybe it'd be Gavin Beavers for the U20. We'll have to see.
Yeah,
That tournament starts on the 18th. The CONCACAF U20 championship begins on the 18th. Everybody, I believe it's Mexico who's hosting, and that will also serve as a qualifier for the World Cup as long as you make it to the semifinals. So I imagine we'll
yeah,
have our takes on that once the roster drops. Uh, I am kind of excited about that one just because some of the players in that U20 they're a much better team than this U23 team.
yeah. That U20 team I've
But
been a little more impressed by.
yeah, but yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all next time.